Ta-da! Welcome everyone to this week's episode of Let's Talk Horses, my amazing podcast where we get to talk all about horses. Hello. And this time, this is the first time I've ever had a threesome on this podcast. How did I get so lucky? And we just realized offhand that my head is like in the logo now. So I'm just going to sit back a little bit during this podcast. But first of all, I would like to warmly welcome my guests on today's podcast. Thank you guys for being here, Miss Susanna Mittermaier and Mr. Jürgen Funk.
Thank you.
P.S.
Hello, Sarah. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you. And P.S. Jürgen, you've got one of the best last names ever. Like every time I hear it, I'm like,
Mr. Funky Man.
The funky man. So I'm just going to ask you guys, first of all, and you can either dive in or I can direct the questions at you guys, but I figure let's just dive in. If we talk over a little bit, talk over each other a little bit, it's fine. I do it all the time when I'm excited anyway. So the first question I always love to ask my guests, you guys have never been on my podcast before. I'm so happy to have you here. How did horses come into your life?
Wow. I gotta say, I didn't ask for a horse when I first got a horse. I was actually asking for something else that I'm not sure if I have words for. I was at a point in my life where I'm like, I just would love contribution, like in form of any creature. And I was hoping for it to not be like I was like peoply, like let's not have too many annoying people. So I'm like, okay, it would be great to have any kind of other creature. And I was very like, there was an energy showing up. I'm like, how can I say it? It's like nurturing, playful, fun. And then I was in Costa Rica, where there are actually amazing special horses, special breed. Love it, Costarricenses. And I was out with a couple of friends, and it was so cool. And then one of the people there, Gary Douglas, he's like, do you want to buy this horse? And I'm like, what? Like, horse was not on my shopping list this morning. But then when he showed me the horse, I was like melting. It was so magical because it totally matched that energy of what I've been asking for just a while before. And it totally changed everything for me. Like from I need to do it all by myself and walk through life, like that. It was really teaching me to let go of control and receive, relax, and all these things. So that was the first really magical experience that changed my life with horses.
Wow. I want to ask you some follow-up questions, but first of all, I would love to hear, I'm going to call you Mr. Funk from now on, basically. So, Mr. Funk, how did horses come into your life?
Well, for me, the first time it was in Costa Rica too.
Wow.
When I was at a class and Susanna said, hey, would you like to ride a horse? And I've never done it before, but yes, let's do that. And for me, it was, yes, I can say a connection with the earth. And it was something like you can go fast or you can go slowly. And I love that because I love to go skiing, and it's the same for me. The connection with nature and everything around you, and that's awesome. And so I tried it, and I recognized that I was a cowboy and in other lifetimes, and so I try to remember of these old times, and sometimes it it was a great help for me. And yes, I love to go with the horses. It's awesome.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I didn't realize that. I mean, I've seen you ride just in the distance, when we're out on rides in Costa Rica, and seeing you on a horse, I was like, oh, you must have had some childhood lessons, or you've grown up with people with horses. And I don't know if you can hear, but the kookaburras here are going crazy outside with them. They're laughing.
Yeah, he's such a natural.
Right?
Such a natural. Wow.
Yeah. And so let's dive into, because both of you sort of touched on the energetic thing that horses have, which I talk a lot about in this podcast. And I know it is a little bit tricky to put into words, but maybe, I know, Susanna, when you first, and is it Azabache that you are referring to?
The first one was Refugio, and then
yes, I remember now. Yes, I remember Refugio. Yes. So when you were kind of seeking out that energy, and so many of us would naturally think that would need to come from another person. And even Jürgen, when you talked about, you're out with the horses and it has this energy of connecting to the earth and connecting to nature. Is there anything else either of you want to say about that, just in general? I know it's a bit of a loose question, but yeah.
Actually, I think I'm going to, take a turn, because when you just talked, I was like, oh, wait a second. Actually, that first, it showed up in form of a horse rather than a person. The thing that I asked for, the nurturing and everything, it actually prepared me for Jürgen.
I just got that as well. When you were talking then, I was like, oh, it's interesting how if you can get it with a horse, they open this receiving up in your world that I don't think we're taught to have that with people, because we're kind of like, oh, you're a person. I'm not going to receive, expansive, joyful, orgasmic energy from you. I'll get it from a horse though, for sure. Okay, cool. So is there anything else?
Yeah. It's because when I was asking for those nurturing energies, I was a little bit like, please not in form of a person, because I want to be a little I want to explore something else, because I was like, okay, had weird experiences with relationships and people. And so that experience with my first horse was, I wish I had words for it. It was just softening me, melting me to say, okay, I am actually, with how I function, I'm more like an animal. And that was an acknowledging for me that I am less a person. I'm more a creature, an animal that doesn't need to be defined, that doesn't need to do weird shit with other people. I can just be, and I can just wiggle my tail when I'm happy and see people, and I don't need to do this stuff that we do when we meet people, I need to be a certain way, but just hi, just this being. And so with what that prepared me for, because Jürgen has this amazing earth energy as well, and he has a body of a person, happens to have. But then the experience with Refugio was really this, hey, this level of being that made me be able to receive Jürgen, even if he has a person body, in a way that's so different, and start creating something with him that I've never had before. And yeah, so much about that.
Yeah. And I mean, because Jürgen is someone, and sorry, I know we're just speaking on your behalf here, but it's Jürgen is someone that is very different. He's and I mean, I haven't had the pleasure to spend a lot of time with you yet, but just when I see you, I think of you as more this person that is very different to people, in that you are, like Susanna acknowledged, you're more of this earth energy and this kind of being, and in this nature. And it's so interesting that Refugio could show you that, so you were almost prepared to receive something like that from a person. Whereas as in Access, there's this tool we talk about that's the winner, loser, and no count energy, right? When you're looking for relationship. And I think Jürgen very much has that no count energy, which I think it doesn't make sense if you don't know what we're talking about, but just go with us here. And if you do know what we're talking about, then you know. But it's this energy where it doesn't have a whole lot of significance and stickiness to it. It's just this expansive space that he gets to occupy. So
yeah, absolutely. And it's also the Refugio was a male horse. which also was an energy of, okay, because with women, it was different for me than with men in the past. And Refugio showed me this receiving from a male creature and letting him in, like letting that male creature into my world. And it doesn't really matter if it's a male or female, but that melted something in my world where, oh, okay. Because how I grew up was a lot of like from female, other relatives. It was a lot about, okay, in a relationship you control, but good luck controlling a horse, from the need to control, rather than from the willingness to be and to connect in a different way and ask for, hey, horse, would you please do this for me? And then the horse goes, yeah, sure, because you don't control. And that was also an aspect that was really amazing to learn.
Yeah, it's like the tagline of this podcast is like, good luck controlling a horse and good luck controlling Mr. Funk as well, because I kind of get the sense he's not the kind of dude that you're going to have very much fun with if you try to control it. So anyway, for you, Jürgen, tell us a little bit about like this energy thing that horses have been for you. And I mean, you acknowledge that you have had, obviously lifetimes of relationships with horses, which I think we've all had, which I think also makes what we have available now very special. But what have they brought into your life from this place?
Well, for me, I have not spent so much time with any animals. I come from the mountains in southern Germany, and the only animals I saw and I spent time with were cows, and I love cows. I love it. They are so special, and they can climb and they can walk, and you can cuddle them. And the first experience with the horses was for me that, yes, I can trust not only me. They showed me not only to trust myself. They showed me to trust an animal like a horse, a big one. And that is amazing for me to know that you can ride a horse without any experience, and you can ask the horse to show you how you should sit on it, and how you connect with the earth, and you can ask the horse anything, and the horse will show you what you have asked for.
Yeah. And really, like, from the things you guys have spoken about, the control thing and this question, like being willing to ask any question of a horse gives you that awareness or information, however you want to look at it. Like, how have you guys, and maybe it hasn't been a completely conscious thing as you were doing it, but thinking about it now, how have you been able to weave that into everyday life with dealing with situations where, you wanted to go to control or, something around that? Or even with Jürgen too, where you've been like, okay, if I'm just willing to ask a question in this situation, what information is actually available to me without having to need to know, kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, it's been a lot, like whether it's my body or whether it's the whole universe, it's like the universe is like riding a horse. It's like you if you really want to move forward in your life, what else is there than to trust and to acknowledge that just like a horse, the universe is there for you. And when you ask, that ask is being heard. Like it is being heard and it is being received, and things are moving and things are changing, just like when you ride a horse, and when you have a point of view, and when you start to control, and when you start to judge, then you control, then you put on the brakes, and things are not moving along in your life, and the horse is going like bucking or doing like weird stuff, and then you can see, oh, okay, it's not the horse, it's me who has a point of view. It's not the universe that doesn't like me and doesn't want to contribute. It's me who is in the way and has a point of view. So that was a big thing for me to realize with my body, like our bodies are just like horses, creatures, animals, or business, you know, like the same. When things are not moving along, how am I creating this? Like, what point of view do I have that is creating whatever's showing up? And what, like, okay, and just like that energy, that energetic connection you train with a horse, you can apply that in every area of your life, whether it's business, body, money, anything.
Yeah. And I mean, the best riders I've seen and the best horse people I've seen are people that approach it from no control, where they're literally, and I think real horsemen, horse people are people that just go in and they look at the horse in front of them and they look at what possibilities are, and they would never use this language. It's interesting that conscious horse, conscious rider, which is access consciousness's, you know, arm of the greater thing that looks at horses, because we have our own sort of vocabulary in a lot of ways. We talk about things very differently to this reality, but I watch really good horse people and they do exactly what everything that we talk about. They just don't realize that that's what they're doing. They approach their horses, they approach their riding, they approach what they do from this place of 10-second increments and no control, and they get the best quote unquote results. They get the most out of the horse because they truly have
right. That's so true, because when you talk, I just remember yesterday I was dancing and the lady in front, she was like, you know, counting, and then people going, oh, what do we do in this count? What movement do we do? And she's like, I don't know, I'm just doing it. And I'm like, that's it, you know, you just do it. And because I never had a horse lesson. Oh yes, now I had with Cody. But before, when I started riding, I never had a horse lesson. And just like Jürgen said, I'm like, hey, horse, can you show me? Like, how do I sit when we go faster? What do I do? And then like you learn from receiving.
Yep, exactly. And the point of view creates your reality thing as well. Like really, they are also the epitome of that, where you approach them with a point of view or a projection. They're like, okay, that's what we're doing. I can show you that. I can be that.
Yes, and for me it's always the change between go fast and to go slowly. How often go we totally fast in our life, and we can relax. We only can relax, and we can trust, and we can see the things around us totally different than we can go than we walk faster. And also the if you walk with other people in a group, and you can feel every horse, you can feel every creature, every person, and it's like it's like it's the same in the life. You have people around, you have animals around, you have plants around, and that's amazing when you not only look for your own, but if you only see the whole group which rides with you, and you can feel who has fear, and you can feel who is excited, and that's amazing. And that's the same in our life. We have so much people with different approach, you say, I don't know. Okay, and that's for me a big one. So go fast, go slowly, and recognize what's around you, and trust the universe that you know what you have to do.
Yeah. And just when you were talking, then I also realized, because I talk about that energy a lot, actually, in my classes and in my podcast, I kind of call it, and, you know, it's really communion at its essence, what you're talking about, where the willingness to just be connected with everything. Like horses don't just go, oh, I'm a horse, so I only really care about horses. They're like connected with the planet and the creatures and the seasons and the people that are with them. Like they really have this total communion in the world, whereas we tend to be like, I'll connect with the things that are going to give me a good result, or like whatever that is. But the other thing I just realized when you said that, I mean, I kind of refer to that as like the global herd energy, because the other thing I've noticed with horses is, I mean, I have 2 horses here in my backyard in Australia, and I have my 2 horses in Costa Rica. and I feel like even though they've never met each other and they never will, there's some energetic connection between all of the horses in the world. Like this thing where, because you look at their evolution and how they've kind of really dominated the planet in a lot of ways with their population and how they've really thrived. And even though they're completely a prey animal, you know, everything eats them. They eat the grass and the plants, but they have a lot of natural, you know, things wanting to kill them. But one thing I just realized when you were talking then is they also don't avoid anything. I mean, I just spent a couple of days in Kolkata in India doing a conscious horse, conscious rider class. And I mean, the conditions the horses lived in there were not what I would call nice or ideal or conducive or any of that. And it was fine because I get it's different for everyone. But these horses were ex-race horses, like off-the-track thoroughbreds. Maybe not half. There were probably 25 horses in this stable. Probably 8 or 9 of them were stallions. And I mean, they were kept in like very small, completely concrete enclosed stables, like stalls. But there was nothing in their world where they're like, I'm going to avoid this situation. Like they still showed up every day to be like, I'm here, you know, I'm frustrated about certain things and I'm dealing with certain things. But there was nothing in their world that they ever avoided. And I think just talking to you and getting that sense when you're out on a ride with other people, but also when you're just in a group of other people or you're on a meeting with work or you're around your family, like how many things we tend to avoid because we don't want to blah, blah, blah. We don't want to fill in the blank, whatever that is for you, where I wonder how much horses can also show us about like just showing up and being present to that degree, no matter what's going on in the situation around you.
Yeah, totally. And it's that. And when you talked, I was also like, okay, so horses have their own stuff also going on. And
Totally.
what I learned also is like, not everything is about me. You know, like you can go into the other extreme and go, oh, everything the horse is doing is about me. The same as in life. You go, oh, this person looks angry. Oh, it must be a reflection of me. You know, like this whole, like where you go into your head and you have conclusion about everything is personal rather than, wait a second, what part of that am I creating? And what part of that is just like the horse having a, you know, different day, you know, they're grumpy or they, you know, they want to go home and eat and whatever it is, you know, or they just like have stuff like where you're out in a ride with someone else and they just don't like the horse next to you, and they just do something weird and you go, oh my God, it's me. La, la, la. And it's like, well, yeah. And like, just like more questions, right? Like, is it me now or is it just like something else? And it also taught me like, not everything is about us.
No. Oh, well, I mean, it not being personal. I mean, I remember when that tool came up in Access, it's not personal. I was like, everything is personal. I was with my horse one day and I like took his, you know, I took him out into the paddock and I took his halter off to let him go. And he bolted to the other, you know, he ran from me, you know, kicked up in the air, did a big fart, kicked his feet up in the air and ran to like the opposite end of the paddock. And I was like, oh, it really isn't personal. Like he didn't like look at me and go, I'm going to like do this just to like, there was nowhere in his, he was like, I'm just going to run for you and I'm going to have fun and fart in the air and be a horse. And like, how many people would be like, oh, my horse hates me, or make it like, I see so many posts on Facebook, like my horse does this. What do I need to do to make him like me or I'm like, it's so interesting how many things about everything we make personal. And the horse is like, I'm just being a horse, dude. How about you ask me a question about like, what can I contribute to today? How can I improve like our relationship and what's going on here? But we don't. We just conclude that whatever's going on in the horse's world is completely.
Totally. It's so funny. And like project the human psychology on horses is like, it's a horse, right? And it's like when you know, our horses, I have now Azabache, really beautiful horse in Costa Rica. And you know, when I see him and I'm like, oh, you know, and he's like, you can see his energy going, and then it's like, okay, now what? Are you gonna leave me and I stay in the stall, or are we gonna go for a ride? The same when we leave, you know, like, oh, thank you so much. And I'm really grateful for him. And then he's like, and he shows me that energy like really quickly. I adore you. Thank you. I'm grateful. And then he goes back to eating, you know.
Okay,
And in
bye.
the beginning was like, but we're not gonna see each other for, you know, like you know, and it's like, come on, get over it. It's not about you. It's not, it's not so significant. You don't need to make any, you know, blow it up to anything that isn't real for him
Yeah.
or for me. But it's
Yeah.
like, hey, we had our goodbye. We shared that energy of mutual gratitude. Thank you. The connection. And then, okay, now I'm gonna go eat and I'm gonna go pack my suitcase, you know. So that's how easy life can be. That's how insignificant we can be with our bodies, our worlds, each other, more like animals, more like babies, like, you know, children, like, hi, bye, you know, like this insignificant gratitude, true connection without any significance or expectations or projection stuff. So that's what I also love about these creatures.
Yeah. And there's no need. They're like, I love you. I'm grateful for you. I enjoy you, but I don't need you. Like, it's like, bye. Like, cool. Well, I've been pondering, and I know we've just got a few minutes left. So what I was hoping was if you guys could pluck out of your heads just a story of a time you've spent with a horse, whether it was on a ride or whether like you were hanging out with a horse. Is there something funny or something really that has stood out with you in particular during some time you've spent with a horse?
Yeah. So, okay, so it was Refugio, and we were out, and there was a friend of mine. She was for the first time going bareback without a saddle, and it was all going well. And then when we stopped just for, you know, to wait for other people, she slid off. And as horses do when, you know, most horses, when you fall off, he ran. And then a friend of ours, Dane, was back, and he's like, Susanna, like, get her horse. And I was just really new. I was like, I'm just really grateful for staying on the horse, being able to trot and maybe gallop a little bit. But like, and he's like, and I'm like, that's a little bit too much to ask. But the horse didn't listen to me. He listened to Dane. So my horse ran after her horse. And then, so we were in that, he ran into the resort. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay. Hi, everyone. Here's me, barely holding on, running after this other horse, you know. And then I'm like, I have no idea what do I do? It's like, he's running with me and I happen to be on, you know, as long as I can. And we just had the conversation before about, you know, being present and, you know, being clear with the horse. And I'm like, I have no idea how to be clear. I'm just like, what is happening? And so the other horse was going into a bush. And I'm like, this will logistically like not really work, you know, me staying on the horse while my horse runs after the other one into a bush. And so there was a split second where I went, no, this is not happening. And I'm like, And I just had that energy. I don't know if I did anything with the reins or anything. I don't remember. I just had this energy. No, mama's in the house. This is not happening. We're not going there. Done. So, and my horse was like suddenly standing still. And I'm like, what? That's it? That's how this works? And he turned around with me. We walked back, and the other horse followed us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. So I realized they were just playing. And for me, being clear on there's no how to do it. It's just like being clear with whatever you desire and just, okay, this is happening. And then the rest is following, whether it's the horse or your whole life. And it was, wow, that was really cool and fun experience.
That's amazing. And I think it's like also very cool testament to really how horses communicate with each other, because that is what we all have available with horses. And let's see what's beyond that. But I've had a few experiences where if you're clear and you send them that message, however the message is, they hear it. Like I was working with a horse at this class on the weekend, and we were doing the leadership exercise where you're getting the horse to lunge, is what you would call it in this reality. But we really play with different energies with this exercise. And I was saying to the person, so when you're ready for her to stop, you tell her to stop. And the horse would hear me say stop and would just stop straight away. And I was like, okay, I need to get myself out of this horse's head and really let the person be there, because every time I said stop, the horse would stop. And it was like, okay, I need to let go of trying to control the situation and help this person and let them be in the horse's head. Jürgen, what about you? Fun story, happy story, crazy story?
Well, I have no specific thing, but what I loved is this dance with the horse when you can the horse trust you and you can trust the horse, and if you go fast, for example, and the horse make something like falling down, and you can pull the range, and you can how do you say, you can know that the horse don't fall. You can trust that you have the horse back and the horse have you back, and that's a dance I love, to being connected with everything, and to trust that you know and the horse know, and you are the connection you are the connection in the universe, and the whole universe will show you what's possible for you.
Yeah, and that dance is the best analogy. Like, I just think, because you watch two people dancing and when you see two people dance in that way where they're just connected, and then you see a brilliant horse rider, but it's the symphony of the universe. And
Yes.
I didn't realize really what that was until we also have a really cool class in Access where we get to play with this thing called Symphony of Possibilities, where it is like you get to really see how the whole universe works energetically, which I think, you get around a horse and you be that SOP energy, or you play an SOP class, or you do an SOP session around horses, and they're just like, this is like this is how we function. This is how we are. It's the dance of the universe, the dance of energy, and really the way everything communicates with each other when it's allowed to, when there's that space and that allowance there. So I just want to mention one quick story of my own, because I forgot about it until we started talking about Refugio. And I was like, I remember we visited El Lugar, which is a property in Costa Rica I talk a lot about on this podcast, which is, halfway developed to a beautiful resort. But this was way before any ground had even been broken on the resort. And each time we visited Costa Rica doing these Access Consciousness classes, we would take a bit of time at the end, all pile into a bus and go out to this beautiful piece of land that we were in the process of purchasing to develop this resort on. So this was probably, 4 or 5 years ago or something like that. And we'd saddled up our horses. I was on my little Pinto Pregonero, who's very small for a woman of my size, but he's like a rocket ship on legs. And you were on Refugio. I know my brother Brendan was there. He was riding Invasor. Megan was on Principe. Like, there was a bunch of us.
Yeah.
And we were coming back on a ride, and we all decided to, gallop home because we could, and the horses were keen. And we galloped. And, if you've spent any time in Costa Rica, it rains 80-90% of the time there, all year round. It's raining, it's wet, it's muddy, and the horses were bolting through this muddy track. And because my little Pinto, he's fast, but he's not as fast as some of the biggest horses, so we got stuck at the back. I don't remember where you were, but we all pulled over at the end to unsaddle and we all looked at each other, and we were covered in mud. Like, the horse, as they were galloping, were just flicking mud at every horse behind them. So I'll find the photos and we will post them. Because we have one with me and you standing with our arms wrapped around. Our horses were fucked. I'm sorry, excuse the French. And we were smiling like ear to freaking ear. The smiles on our faces, and it looks like we're covered in mud. The horses' faces are covered in mud. It was just one of those moments where you felt like that dance there was complete trust. They were flying, like going as fast as they could possibly run, but there was such a space and relaxation. Like, there was no anything. It was just like we're flying through the Costa Rican jungle. And I'll never forget that day. It was And
it was our last ride with Refugio and I.
There we go.
So that was so perfect to just go, hey, let's fly. And he could fly, to somewhere else. It was so cool.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Totally. Well, thank you guys. That's, half an hour done. I would love to look at maybe doing something else in the future, whether we all come on again or I have you one at a time. I would love to delve in a little bit more into your guys' awareness and your world around horses and everything and how they all relate to each other. I'm so grateful for you coming on here. I'm grateful for you guys being in the world. And I'm so grateful that I get to see you guys soon in Costa Rica and we can actually go riding and have some fun together. So
thank you for inviting us.
Thank you. That was great.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thanks, guys. See you next time.
See you.
Bye.